I paid for my daughter's entire law school education. Every semester, every textbook, every bar exam prep course. She graduated top of her class. Last month, she served me with eviction papers for the house I've lived in for 40 years. The process server said, "Sorry, ma'am," like he meant it. I stared at my daughter's signature at the bottom. She'd used her married name now. 2 weeks later, I discovered she'd been planning this for over a year. I'm grateful you're listening. Type heard if this resonates. And tell me where you're from. Have you ever been erased by someone you raised? What I found in those documents changed everything. The courthouse in downtown San Diego smelled like floor wax and old paper. I remember thinking that was strange, focusing on smells when my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the eviction notice. The security guard asked if I needed help. I must have looked lost, confused, like someone who didn't belong in a place where families come to destroy each other legally. I told him I was fine. I wasn't fine. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 63 years old. I worked as a medical transcriptionist for 31 years, typing doctors' notes until my fingers cramped and my eyes blurred. I raised my daughter Jessica alone after her father left when she was 4. He sent birthday cards for 2 years, then nothing, just silence and a forwarding address that led nowhere. Everything I did for her. When Jessica was 16, she came home with a brochure from Stanford Law School. "This is where I'm going, Mom," she said. Not a question, a statement. Her eyes were bright with a certainty I'd never had about anything in my life. I looked at the tuition numbers. My stomach dropped. But I said, "Then you will." That night, after she'd gone to bed in her small room with the peeling butterfly wallpaper I'd never had money to replace, I did the math. Stanford Law cost over $60,000 a year. 3 years. Books, housing, living expenses. I was looking at close to $250,000. I made $42,000 a year. I was 47 years old. I started the next morning. The first thing I did was refinance my house. The house my mother had left me, the only thing of value I'd ever owned. I took out $100,000 against it. The loan officer looked at me with something like concern. "Are you sure about this, Mrs. Chen?" I was sure. I picked up extra transcription work, medical records from 3 different hospitals. I typed from 5 in the morning until midnight, 7 days a week. My fingers developed calluses, then blisters, then calluses again. I bought wrist braces from the dollar store and kept typing. I stopped buying new anything. My winter coat developed holes at the elbows. I sewed patches over them, then patches over the patches. When my glasses broke, I taped the frames together rather than buy new ones. The optometrist gave me a look of pity when I came in for my annual exam. I pretended not to notice. Jessica got into Stanford. Full ride for the first year based on merit, but after that, the money came from me. Every semester, I wrote checks that made my hands shake. Every semester, the balance in my account dropped closer to zero. I ate rice and beans 5 nights a week, sometimes 6. The calls from Jessica grew shorter, busier. "Can't talk long, Mom." Study group, heading to a networking event, call you later. Later never came. She graduated summa cum laude. I sat in the audience in my good dress, the one I'd bought in 2015 and carefully maintained, watching my daughter walk across that stage. She was beautiful, confident. She belonged up there with those other polished young lawyers, those people from families with money and connections and names that opened doors. I cried the whole time. I thought they were tears of joy. Jessica passed the bar on her first attempt, got hired at Morrison & Associates, one of the top corporate law firms in La Jolla. Starting salary, $190,000. More than I'd made in my entire career combined. She called to tell me the news. I could hear champagne glasses clinking in the background, laughter, the sounds of celebration I wasn't part of. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," I said. "I know, right? Oh, Mom, I have to go. Richard's parents want to take us to dinner." Richard, the boyfriend I'd met once, briefly, at her graduation. His family owned a chain of car dealerships across Southern California. Old money, new money, any money. Everything I'd never had. They got engaged 6 months later. I found out through Facebook. The wedding invitation arrived by mail, formal. cream-colored, expensive paper. The ceremony would be at the Rancho Valencia Resort in Rancho Santa Fe. Black tie. I looked up the venue online. Rooms started at $1,000 a night. I called Jessica. "Sweetheart, I got the invitation. I'm so happy for you. What can I help with?" A pause. Too long. "Actually, Mom, Richard's family is handling everything," they insisted. "His mother has very specific ideas about the wedding." "Oh, well, I could still help with." "Mom." Her voice was patient in a way that felt like impatience. "It's fine. Just show up, okay? And maybe we should go shopping together. For your dress. Something appropriate." Appropriate. The word stung. "I have my good dress." "Mom, this is black tie at Rancho Valencia. Richard's grandmother is flying in from Connecticut. His family's friends are very—" She stopped. "Just let me take you shopping, okay? My treat." My treat. Like I was a charity case. Like I hadn't typed until my hands bled to give her this life. I said yes because I didn't know how to say anything else. The shopping trip happened 2 weeks before the wedding. Jessica took me to a boutique in La Jolla where the saleswomen wore all black and spoke in hushed voices. The cheapest dress on the rack cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Jessica pulled a navy gown from the rack. "This would look nice on you." I checked the tag. $2,200. "Jessica, I can't." I said it's my treat. She handed it to the saleswoman without looking at the price. "She'll try this one." In the dressing room, I stood in front of the three-way mirror and didn't recognize myself. The woman looking back at me was older than I felt, grayer, more worn. The dress was beautiful. I looked like I was wearing a costume. Jessica appeared behind me. Our eyes met in the mirror. "Perfect," she said. But she was looking at the dress, not at me. The wedding was everything I'd imagined and nothing I'd wanted. I sat in the third row, behind Richard's family, his grandmother with her pearls and his mother with her diamonds. The ceremony was elegant, tasteful, expensive. A string quartet played. White roses covered every surface. At the reception, I was seated at table 12, far from the head table, far from my daughter. The other guests at my table were Richard's co-workers from the dealerships, people who talked about golf handicaps and vacation homes in Cabo. They were polite, distant. They didn't ask about me. I watched Jessica dance with Richard, then with his father, then with a succession of his friends. She never danced with me. At one point, I saw Richard's mother lean close to Jessica's ear and whisper something. They both laughed. I left early. No one noticed. The distancing continued after the wedding. Jessica and Richard bought a house in Del Mar, 5 bedrooms, ocean view, something called a smart home where you could control everything from your phone. She sent me photos once. I recognized some of my mother's furniture in the background, pieces I'd given Jessica when she graduated. They looked out of place surrounded by all that modern luxury. Like me at the wedding. Calls became monthly, then quarterly. When she did call, there was always something in the background. Richard's voice, the television, the sound of a life I wasn't part of. "Can't talk long, Mom. We're heading to Richard's parents' place in Palm Springs. We're having dinner with the partners at the firm. So busy lately." "You understand." I understood. Then, 18 months after the wedding, my doorbell rang. The man on my porch wore a short-sleeved dress shirt and carried a clipboard. He looked apologetic. "Margaret Chen?" "Yes?" "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have papers for you." He held out an envelope. "You've been served." I took the envelope with numb fingers. Watched him walk back to his car. Stood on my porch as he drove away. The papers inside made no sense at first. Legal language, dense paragraphs, terms I didn't understand, but I understood enough. Eviction notice. 30 days to vacate the premises. The premises being my house, my mother's house, the house I'd lived in for 40 years, and at the bottom, a signature. Jessica Chen Morrison. My daughter had filed to evict me from my own home. I called her immediately. The phone rang 5 times, then went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I texted, "Jessica, please call me. I don't understand these papers." 3 hours later, a text back. The papers are self-explanatory. My attorney can answer questions. Please don't contact me directly about this matter. My attorney. This matter. Like I was a stranger. Like I was a problem to be handled. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in my kitchen. The kitchen where I'd taught Jessica to make pancakes, where I'd helped her with homework, where I'd handed her acceptance letters to Stanford with tears in my eyes. The next morning, I called legal aid. The intake worker was kind, patient. She asked me to read the eviction notice slowly. "Ma'am," she said carefully, "according to this document, you don't own your house." "What?" "The property at your address is listed as being owned by the Morrison Family Trust. Has been for 14 months. The room tilted. "That's impossible. My mother left me this house. I have the deed. Do you have a recent title search?" "I didn't." "Why would I?" "I think you need to come in," she said, "and bring every document you have." The legal aid office was on the 3rd floor of a building downtown. The elevator smelled like old cigarettes. The waiting room had plastic chairs and fluorescent lights that hummed. A woman named Patricia Martinez took my case. She was in her 50s, gray streaks in her dark hair, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked tired in a way that suggested she'd seen too many cases like mine. "Walk me through this," she said. "From the beginning." So I did. The refinancing, the law school payments, the wedding, the silence. Patricia typed notes on her laptop, her expression growing darker with each detail. "You refinanced in 2018? "Yes. And your daughter was listed as a co-signer?" I froze. She needed to be. "For the student loans. The bank required." "Did you read everything you signed?" My silence was answer enough. Patricia pulled up records on her computer. Her face went still. "Mrs. Chen, I need to show you something." She turned the screen toward me. A document. Official. My signature at the bottom and Jessica's. A quitclaim deed dated 3 years ago, transferring ownership of my house to something called the Morrison Family Trust. "I never signed that." "That's your signature." I stared at it. It looked like my signature. The same loops, the same slant. But I would remember signing away my house. I would remember. Wouldn't I? Patricia leaned back. "There's a second document. Filed 18 months ago, right after the wedding." She clicked. Another deed appeared. This one transferred the property from the Morrison Family Trust to Jessica Chen Morrison and Richard Morrison personally. "She took your house," Patricia said quietly, "used the trust as an intermediary to hide the paper trail, then transferred it to herself and her husband. The eviction notice is technically legal because, according to county records, you're living in their property. But I never," my voice cracked, "I would never have signed this." Patricia looked at me over her reading glasses. "No, I don't think you would have. What do I do?" "We investigate. Look for forgery. Look for fraud." She paused. "Mrs. Chen, do you remember anything about 3 years ago? Any documents your daughter might have asked you to sign? Anything at all?" I thought back. 3 years ago. Jessica had visited, briefly, on her way somewhere else. Said she needed to update some paperwork related to the student loans. Had me sign some forms at the kitchen table, promising it was routine. "Just sign here, Mom. And here. It's for the loan consolidation." I'd trusted her. She was my daughter. She was a lawyer. "She was here," I whispered. "She had me sign things. I didn't read them." Patricia's expression softened. "That's what we'll look into." The next 3 weeks were a blur of documents and phone calls and sleepless nights. Patricia requested records, title histories, notary logs, everything. What we found was worse than forgery. Jessica hadn't just taken my house. She'd been planning it for years. The paper trail went back to her 2nd year of law school. Careful, methodical, devastatingly thorough. First, she'd been added to my bank account. "For emergencies, Mom. In case something happens to you." I'd thought it was thoughtful. Then, the refinancing. The documents I'd signed included provisions I'd never noticed, provisions that made Jessica a co-owner, not just a co-signer. Then, the quitclaim deed slipped in among those routine loan papers I'd signed without reading, transferring my ownership stake to a trust that didn't exist yet. The trust was created 6 months later. Richard's family's attorney handled it. Jessica was listed as the beneficiary. And finally, the transfer to her name. Right after the wedding, when she had access to family money, family lawyers, family protection. My daughter hadn't just betrayed me. She'd spent years building the perfect trap. Patricia looked at me across her desk. We have enough for a criminal complaint. Fraud, forgery, elder financial abuse, elder abuse. The words hit like a slap. I started. You're 63. You're her mother. She exploited your trust and your signature to steal your property. Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. This is a crime, Mrs. Chen. I thought about Jessica at 4 years old, crying because her father never came back. At 10, making me macaroni art for Mother's Day. At 16, holding that Stanford brochure like it was a map to a better life. When had she started hating me? When had I become something to escape from? What happens if I file charges? Police investigation, possible arrest, definitely a civil case to reclaim your property. It'll be public, it'll be ugly. Patricia paused. It'll also be the only way to get your house back. My house. My mother's house. The only thing of value I'd ever owned. Do it, I said. The detective's name was Maria Santos. She had 20 years on the fraud unit and a way of looking at documents that made me feel like I'd missed something obvious. Your daughter's smart, she said, spreading papers across her desk. Law school smart. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's my daughter. Yes, ma'am, and she stole your house. Detective Santos walked me through what would happen. Investigation. Evidence gathering. Interviews. Eventually, if there was enough, an arrest warrant. We'll need you to testify, she said. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the wedding. Table 12, watching my daughter dance with everyone except me. Yes, the investigation took 2 months. During that time, I received 3 more legal notices from Jessica's attorney, demanding I vacate the property. I ignored them, on Patricia's advice. I also received 1 phone call from Jessica herself. Mom, her voice was cold. You need to stop this. Stop what, Jessica? The police called Richard. They're asking questions. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing. I typed until my hands bled for her education, and she was embarrassed. I'm not stopping anything. You're making a mistake. Richard's family has very good lawyers. You can't win this. Maybe not. But I can make sure everyone knows what you did. Silence. Then, you really want to do this? Drag our family through the courts? Our family. As if she hadn't erased me from it years ago. You did this, Jessica. Not me. She hung up. The arrest happened on a Tuesday afternoon. I didn't watch. Patricia called me afterward. She's been booked. Fraud, forgery, elder financial abuse. Bail is set at $50,000. Richard's family posted it within the hour. I sat in my kitchen, the kitchen that was still mine, at least for now. I should have felt something. Victory. Relief. Vindication. I felt empty. The civil case moved faster than the criminal one. Patricia filed a motion to restore ownership, citing fraud and undue influence. Jessica's attorneys fought back with everything they had, claiming I'd signed willingly, claiming I was confused, claiming early onset dementia. Dementia. My own daughter was trying to say I was crazy. The judge wasn't buying it. Mrs. Chen, he said during the preliminary hearing, looking at Jessica, do you have any medical documentation for these claims about your mother's cognitive state? Jessica's attorney stammered. They didn't. Then, I suggest you find a different defense. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Richard Morrison's secretary called me on a Thursday morning. Her name was Denise, and she spoke in a whisper, like she was afraid of being heard. Mrs. Chen, I shouldn't be calling you, but I've worked for the Morrison family for 12 years, and what they're doing to you is wrong. What do you mean? The trust. The transfers. It wasn't just your daughter's idea. Her voice dropped even lower. Richard's mother planned the whole thing. She told Jessica that if she wanted to be part of this family, she needed to clean up her background. That meant you, the house, everything that connected Jessica to. She stopped. To what? To being poor. Mrs. Chen. To being someone who didn't belong. Didn't belong. The same words Jessica had used about my dress, about my place at the wedding. Can you testify to this? A long pause. Yes. I have emails. I have everything. Denise's documents changed everything. Emails between Richard's mother, Victoria Morrison, and Jessica discussing the property situation. Notes from meetings with the family attorney about trust restructuring. A memo that literally said, Jay's mother must be removed from any financial entanglements before the merger. The merger. Richard's family was selling their dealership chain. The due diligence included reviewing all family assets. A mother-in-law living in a house with a complicated title wasn't part of their pristine picture. They hadn't just wanted me gone. They'd needed me erased for the business deal. Patricia filed the new evidence. The judge called an emergency hearing. I sat in the courtroom and watched my daughter's face when the emails were read aloud. She went pale, then red, then pale again. Richard, sitting beside her, stared straight ahead like a man watching his world collapse. Victoria Morrison, in the gallery, gripped her designer purse so hard her knuckles went white. The judge looked at Jessica. Counselor, you're an officer of the court. You understand the gravity of these documents? Jessica didn't answer. Her attorney did. Something about context, about misunderstanding, about withdrawing to reassess. I don't think so, the judge said. I've seen enough. We're moving forward. The full hearing took 3 days. Denise testified, quiet but unwavering. She described meetings she'd witnessed, conversations she'd overheard, the casual way Victoria Morrison discussed handling me like I was a pest to be exterminated. Patricia presented the paper trail, the forged signatures, the convenient timing, the trust that served no purpose except to hide theft. Jessica took the stand in her own defense. She wore a conservative suit, minimal makeup. She looked young and frightened. I never meant to hurt anyone, she said. I was trying to protect my mother. She was having trouble managing her finances. I thought the trust would help. By evicting her from her own home, Patricia asked? That was Richard's idea. He thought it would be better if she lived somewhere more appropriate for her needs. More appropriate. You mean away from your new family? Jessica's composure cracked. You don't understand what it was like. Coming from nothing, finally having something. I didn't want to lose it. So you stole from your mother to keep it. I didn't steal. I restructured. It's different. Is it? Patricia held up the quitclaim deed. You told your mother this was loan paperwork. You watched her sign away her home. Is that restructuring? Jessica didn't answer. Patricia continued, Your mother worked 31 years as a transcriptionist. She typed until her hands bled to pay for your education. She refinanced her only asset to give you opportunities she never had. And this is how you repaid her? She would never have agreed. Jessica whispered. So you took her choice away. Jessica's voice broke. I did what I had to do. I watched my daughter cry on the witness stand. The little girl who'd made me macaroni art, the teenager who'd dreamed of Stanford, the woman who'd erased me for her own ambition. I should have felt satisfied. I felt like my heart was being carved out. The judge ruled in my favor. Full restoration of ownership, damages, legal fees. The criminal case was handed off to the district attorney, who filed charges against both Jessica and Richard. Victoria Morrison's emails were leaked to the press. The dealership sale fell through. The Morrison family name, so carefully cultivated, became synonymous with elder fraud. I moved back into my house 3 weeks later. It smelled different. Empty. All my mother's furniture had been replaced with modern pieces I didn't recognize. They'd painted over the walls where I'd marked Jessica's height as she grew. I sat in the living room that was mine again and felt nothing. 6 months later, Jessica called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press the green button. Mom. Her voice was raw. Please don't hang up. I said nothing. Richard and I are getting divorced. His family blames me for everything. They're cutting me off completely. A shaky breath. I lost my job. The firm let me go after the charges were filed. I can't find work anywhere. I'm living in a studio apartment in National City. It's the only place I could afford. National City. Miles from La Jolla. Miles from Del March, miles from everything she'd worked so hard to become. I'm not asking for money, she continued quickly. I know I don't deserve anything from you. I wanted you to know that I understand now. What I did. How wrong it was. Do you? I destroyed everything. My career, my marriage, my relationship with you. Her voice cracked. I was so afraid of going back to what we were, of being poor again, of being nobody. I thought if I could just become someone else, someone better, I'd be safe. And I was in the way. Silence. Then, yes, you reminded me of everything I wanted to forget. I closed my eyes, saw her at 4, crying for a father who never came back, saw her at 16, holding that Stanford brochure like a lifeline, saw her at the wedding, dancing with everyone except me. Jessica, yes, what you did was unforgivable. I know. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to look at you the same way. I know. But I also know that I raised you. And somewhere inside the person you became is the girl who used to make me macaroni art, who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who used to tell me I was the best mom in the world. She was crying now. I could hear it. I don't know if we can repair what you broke. Maybe we can't. Maybe the damage is permanent. I took a breath. But I'm willing to try. Mom, not as mother and daughter. Not yet. That trust is gone. But maybe as two people who used to be family, who might learn to be family again. The line was quiet except for her tears. There are conditions, I said. Anything. You plead guilty. Take responsibility. No more lawyers, no more games. Okay, you pay back what you stole. Every penny, even if it takes years. I will. And you tell the truth. To everyone. About what you did and why. A long pause. Then, even if it ruins me completely? You already ruined yourself, Jessica. The truth is just the first step toward building something real. She agreed. To all of it. The plea deal happened 4 months later. Jessica stood before the same judge who'd ruled against her and admitted everything. Fraud, forgery, exploitation. She broke down twice but kept going. She was sentenced to probation, community service, and full restitution. No jail time, but a felony record that would follow her forever. After the hearing, she approached me in the hallway. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple blouse and slacks from Target. Her hair was grayer than I remembered. "Thank you," she said, "for giving me a chance. Don't thank me yet. You haven't earned anything." She nodded. "I know. But I will." I wanted to believe her. I wasn't sure I did. That was a year ago. Today, my house looks like my house again. I found my mother's old furniture in a storage unit Jessica had rented to hide it, restored everything, put the height marks back on the wall in the hallway, using photos from old albums to get them right. Jessica comes by once a month. She doesn't stay long. We have coffee on the porch, talk about nothing in particular. Sometimes she helps me in the garden my mother used to tend. She's working at a nonprofit now, helping elderly people navigate legal systems. Community service. At first. Now she does it for free. I'm trying to undo some of the damage, she told me last week. Not to myself. To people like you. People like me. Mothers who trusted too much. Parents who gave everything and lost it. I don't know if we'll ever be mother and daughter again. Some things can't be unbroken. But we're building something new. Something honest. Something that might, someday, feel like family. The house I almost lost is now a place where second chances grow, where forgiveness is earned, not given. Where love comes with boundaries because I finally learned that love without limits isn't love at all. It's permission to be destroyed. My daughter spent years trying to erase me. In the end, she only erased herself. And in the rebuilding, she's finally becoming someone I might want to know. I am Margaret Chen, and I'm finally home. Looking back, I learned that sacrifice without boundaries isn't noble. It's dangerous. My daughter saw my endless giving as weakness, something to exploit rather than honor. The lesson isn't to stop loving, it's to love wisely, to give with open hands but clear eyes, to trust but verify, to forgive but never forget. If you're watching this and seeing yourself in my story, remember, you deserve to be seen, not erased, not hidden, not treated like an obstacle to someone else's ambition. Your worth isn't measured by what you give up. It's measured by how you honor your own life while loving others. Guard your heart, protect your boundaries, and never let anyone, not even your own child, make you disappear. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Drop amen in the comments if this story spoke to your heart. I truly need to know you're here. If this resonated, please subscribe, share with someone who needs to hear it, and tell me, what's your biggest takeaway? Your engagement helps these stories reach the families who need them most. God bless you abundantly.